So I was supposed to present together with my friend, but he couldn't come, so the organizers told me that if I will do only my half of the talk, they will keep asking me questions for the remaining 20 minutes. So I don't want that, you don't want that, so I will just be very slow, okay? So I think we're all gathered here because we love open source. The possibility to create and utilize all those brilliant projects, tools, ideas, being able to contribute to something used by thousands, it's amazing. But it's not always like this. Sometimes we're frustrated. We don't know how to proceed, how to use the tool. We receive, cannot resolve the file path. Name is not defined. Call of overloaded function is ambiguous. And we just give up. And then we try again, read the documentation, find examples, and this happens. Or worse. So we give up again. And then we look for the answers, ask people, write comments, and we end up fighting about why Robot Framework is better than Cypress. So why some projects are easier to use while some are not? Why sometimes we cannot cooperate well with others? Well, I think the answer is because open source is like a multiplayer game, and we suck at it. So we are programmers not because we like people, but because we like to spend days in front of the computer looking obsessively at the hieroglyphs on a black background and smiling at the flashing screen when something starts working, like a child that found a chocolate under the bed while the parents are watching TV. So the truth is, we are not very good at cooperation. But the good news is, we are not alone being bad at social skills. Programming is about cooperation. Open source is about cooperation. Words progress even is about cooperation. Programming is too hard for one person. It's like filming a movie. If you want it to be good, you need a team to do it. Unless you're filming 8th season of Game of Thrones. That even I could do better. So we need to cooperate whether we like it or not. We are not programming for ourselves. In fact, we code because we want our creation to be successful. We want it to be useful. So we want to tingle our ego with it. We enjoy being liked so much. So what's more effective way of improving our self-esteem? Sitting in the basement and coding life-changing tools that no one knows? Or reading the testimonials and then looking at our growing bank account due to the payments from the customers? We program because we want to solve words problems. So how to get better at this multiplayer game? How to level up? Well, imagine we are a rookie warrior spawned in this world of monsters. We are naked, we have no weapon, and suddenly the spider of chaos appears in front of us. We fight with our bare hands and we win the battle. And we find a helmet of communication. By the way, I'm wondering how the hell a helmet fits into a spider, but just game's logic. So we have this helmet, and we are happy because we know that communication is the single most important and fundamental thing in every project. Working on open source is like working in a remote company. It's hard because we don't have a direct and instant access to the teammates. We can't have it always when we are working. So fun fact, the Earth is not flat. I know it may be shocking, but not everyone lives in our time zone. And we are definitely not in the center of the world. So we can't expect an instant response. Be calm, be patient. There's a person just like you sitting on the other side. Messaging is not a phone call. The other side may be away or do something else or be in a meeting. That's why never start a conversation with just saying hi. It's like you're calling to someone, saying hello, and hanging up. No one does it, right? So the other side waits for your input, idling. Maybe someone stopped doing something important, but now sits and waits for our message. And we're still typing. So just ask the question straight away in the same message. For example, hi, when does the conference start? Hey, at 10 a.m. Cool, thanks. No problem, see ya. As simple as that. That alone can really save hours a month. I know, written communication is not perfect. It's like singing a song using Morse code. It's hard to transfer emotions. But there's one rule that can improve it significantly, but it's then hard in practice. Always assume good intentions. Sometimes the ambiguity of the sentence can make us think that it's rude, or we may suspect that the person on the other side wants to upset us. Usually, that's not the case. Sometimes we are just tired, or something unrelated steals our mind, which decreases the effectiveness of the communication. Everybody has such days once in a while. A simple smile can be more powerful than moving. So what's even harder is to be open, honest, and direct at the same time. Be proactive. Drive the issue towards completion. Share with the others. If possible, discuss things over voice. Talking is way more efficient. And always turn your camera on. Everyone has a different style of working, and we need to respect it. Some people like to work hard in the morning, while others code in the middle of the night like tomorrow won't come. Our ways of working are entangled with how we are, with our pyramid value. That means something important to us can be irrelevant to others. We can't expect people to value things the same. So if we find ourselves lost, not understanding others, try to wear their armor, look from their perspective. Avoid strong emotions. Stick to the facts. Remember that no one knows so much about your project than you are. That means you need to synchronize your level of abstraction with the others. Don't get too deep with the details when answering questions. I've read a really good quote about it from astrophysicist Carl Sagan. There are naive questions, tedious questions, ill-phrased questions, questions put after inadequate self-criticism, but every question is a cry to understand the world. There is no such thing as a dumb question. So the point is, we need to be grateful for every question and for every user. Oh, that's it. Okay, so things got a bit sentimental, so let's go back to our game. We have the helmet of communication. What else do we need? Do we have some gamers here? Battle axe. Maybe armor. Yes, we need the armor of documentation. Believe it or not, this is also about communication, because the documentation is kind of a passive one-way communication. So documenting is key when working with the others, because it's more durable than active communication. It doesn't get lost that easily. It's protected better against time. This is why some 100-year-old books are still read till this day. Programming is a very complex activity, and by writing the process down, we can recreate the way of thinking months later. So we should document our code, tasks, requirements, designs, meetings. In a nutshell, we need to show the others what we create. GitHub is a great tool for that. It has issues, pull requests, labels, milestones, states, it has wikis, it has projects. All these tools are there to use them and show others the value of our software. So people want to use the tool. but what they need is to know how. I work in a startup company called Archipelago that works on a software that empowers developers to be more productive. And we have just finished the round of usability testing and onboarding the first users. And guess what we observed? The users want to jump straight to the tool as quickly as possible. They don't care about your fancy onboarding or beautiful animations on the landing page. They want to try it out, and we need to enable them. Link to our homepage below. So our character is now well protected, but it has nothing to fight with. So he may stay alive a bit longer, but certainly not against the troll of invisibility. He's too weak. What else does he need? Yes, a sword, but not a typical sword, of course. The sword of marketing. What is the main source of marketing in an open source project? README file. Of course, you need stars, you need downloads, but these are things you can't control directly. README is. Without it, you are invisible. So README is like the landing page of your project. People decide whether they will use the tool or not in no more than a minute. So which of these two tools you would try? Raise your hands, left or right one. Left one? 2 people, 3, 4. Right one? Okay, majority. So let's take a look at some important sections here. Introduction. It needs to be short but descriptive. Documentation. No need to provide it all in a README, but better to have it separated with a navigation and so on. But also usage. Show the simplest command a user can execute to run the tool. Requirements. Nice to know before we try the tool, right? But install commands. Hard to try the tool if we don't know how to install it. And the last one, the most important, show what the tool does. I don't want to spend 30 minutes configuring my environment to see that this is not the tool I was looking for. It's good when README is nice, but primarily it needs to convince people that the tool gives them value. So it needs to shortly describe the software and show how it can be used. You have a command line tool, show the example of the output. You have a graphical tool, show the screenshot, or better, a GIF. We don't have time to read the wall of text. So README is like how to cook noodles instructions. Without them, you would either chomp the rocks or drink the goo, right? So what is the best thing I like about README? It's free. We don't need $1 million budget for marketing. It needs to catch attention, needs to be simple, useful, and aesthetic. Of course, these are not the only things you need, but one of the most important ones. And one more tip from myself. Avoid typos. There are so many tools that can help you spell check every possible corner of your project. They can even correct the errors themselves and save you time. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm so allergic to typos, it's hard for me to even look around. Oh, that's better. So, going back to our warrior. He is now able to fight and should be able to stand against a group of goblins, let's say, but he will probably have problems with a more powerful enemy, like the Orcish Lord of Unpopularity. The only way to get out alive is to run fast. And for that, he needs the boots of configuration. That's right. A good configuration of the project makes it more available and therefore more popular for the users, and it makes the tool look credible also for them. So it's the tiny step we can take to make our project available like a coffee in Starbucks or bread in a bakery. So what is it we need to configure? Select a relevant license that will encourage people to use the tool. No license can be a risk to many users and companies. create a contribution guide. It may appear hard, but it's very simple. Just write down all the rules you want your contributors to follow when cooperating within the project. How to run the tool, how to test it, how to do commits, how to publish changes. Also make sure that you give them hints to what's important and what might be helpful. To make the project even more available, add labels to relevant issues and think about creating an issue template to kick off the new users and contributors. Always provide meaningful titles and detailed descriptions to every issue and every pull request you have in your project. I know we just want to code, right? But imagine someone also does, but he or she does not have the knowledge you have. So how can you transfer this knowledge? You can talk, of course, but it will take time. Now, how can you transfer this knowledge to 100 people? You can't talk with 100 people at the same time. So the only way is to document. Create tasks, fill them with description, explain the context, provide clear requirements. Okay, let's slow down, because our warrior has just encountered the worm of failure. And the only way to counter this monster is, of course, with the shield of testing. Because the testing is like a shield, and without it, a failure is certain. Tests need to be fast and automatic, say unit tests. There's no need to hit 100% coverage, but this is the symptomatic goal we should aim for. The bigger the coverage, the more confidence we have when we are doing any changes to the project. Say acceptance tests. They need to validate the purpose of the tool. They verify if it meets requirements. Anyway, their role is to make sure that it works as a whole. So with each test, our project becomes less vulnerable. But I don't think I need to convince you to that, right? Because we are on RoboCon. So who knows a better tool for testing than Robot Framework? But I want you to remember one thing though. In open source world, there are no testers at all, which means everyone is a tester. Everyone is responsible for the quality of the project. We all create it together. And that leads us to the last missing piece. Do you remember our hero? He has won the battles with countless monsters, but he's exhausted now. He lost all of his will, all of his power, but the final boss does not have mercy. The dragon of heartlessness. He squeaks, he rages upon our hopeless hero, and then a friendly hand shows up, holding a help potion. A potion that gives our hero hope and trust and reason. It gives him power to stand up and face the monster. He understands that he should never fear to give or receive help. He realizes now that no matter what, he will never beat the boss alone. And that only by cooperating, it's possible to combine the full potential of all the people and beat the dragon of heartlessness once and for all. Thank you.